Hello.
Hello.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Peggy.
And this is the Junction Fiber Mill Millcast, episode 22.
22, amazing.
We are recording this on Monday, April 10th.
April 10th.
2023.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful spring day.
It's going to just get warmer and warmer throughout the week. Kind of crazy.
We had an epically sunny weekend.
Yeah.
What did you get up to?
A lot of it is, going up to the barn to check and see if any of the lambs are coming. We have nothing.
I think last time you're like, there's no way there's going to be no lamb next week.
And there are no lambs. And I'm sitting here, I have my phone ready in case Todd calls and says, someone's in labor. But nothing.
And what will you have to do then? Like, what will you fly up the hill to assist with?
Hopefully not have to assist at all. But if it's a breach, which means coming out backwards, legs first, the hind quarters first, you sometimes have to go in and help. And the other one that we've had maybe 3 or 4 times is, this is normal presentation, coming out this way.
And you mean like their hooves?
Their hooves are right under their noses, and they come out, and usually that's just fine. But what we've had sometimes is one hoof is here, and then the other's here. And the problem is this shoulder can jam, and it's tricky because you got to go down along the side and bring that hoof up to pull it out. So that's the one, to make sure they're coming out smoothly, and then the other is to make certain that the mom and the lamb latch on, that the lamb
for like nursing.
For nursing, yeah, just to make, because sometimes, especially first-time moms, they're not with the program, and we don't micromanage. We used to, way too much, but we do something called stripping the teat, which is just making sure the milk is there and coming out, and then we just watch and see that the mom is encouraging the lamb, and then we kind of step away and come back in about 40 minutes just to see how it's going. We also, just real quick, the other thing we do is we tie a cord, a little piece of yarn on the umbilical cord, and we give them a little bit of Nutrigen drench, which is just a little bit of calories. Frankly, it's like molasses and sugar, just to give them a little,
make sure that they're peppy, full of life. Good.
Yeah. Well, when it happens, I'll give you some video. It's really
bummed we won't see it today.
It's so wild to see them try to get up on their legs. Really, rather quickly, these little guys are figuring out, I've got legs, and they get a little wobbly. And
I love to see their little tails.
Oh, once they've latched on, they're getting the milk when the little tail's going.
Yeah, they love it. Oh, that's so great! It's so exciting.
It is exciting. I want it to get going.
Yeah.
Because I think we have 14.
And the weather is beautiful for lambing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't love it when it's cold
bitter
and
cold.
windy.
Yeah, because then it's cold for
moist.
the lambs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to describe what I'm wearing, and I realized that
I love the is it lace work?
It's a little bit. I should have worn a lighter colored t-shirt, turtlenecks. I'm going to stand up real quick because the back, and I looked for the pattern. I don't. So the pattern, I think there's a seam here, right?
Yeah.
So I knit it. I think I knit it going across, over, and then around, and then stitched it up.
Very intricate.
And then I picked up the stitches to knit down.
Yeah, okay. I love it.
I did it years ago. It's from our flock.
Yep.
I can't remember if I hand spun it. I may have.
Wow.
But I can't tell you what the pattern is.
I've never seen that one.
I thought about it. I looked, I thought, wow, yet another one I haven't worn in a while. And
yeah.
So,
I love it.
Thanks.
I am wearing a Pearl Soho pattern. I think it might have even been a free pattern. It's just a very basic striped sweater. And this is probably the first and the only time I've ever knit with yarn this fine, but I think I will do it again because some of the stuff I spun is about this fine. But this is like a sport weight, sport fingering weight, and then the striped like a single ply, really, really lightweight. And technically, you can't really tell, but there's a little color change. This is slightly lighter blue than the rest of it. So that was part of the design. Very simple.
Yeah.
But it felt appropriate for such a nice spring day.
I like the seam on the top.
Yeah, it's got a nice...
Is that like a 3-needle bind-off kind of seam?
I think it was. It felt very fancy because I was still learning
I know
new
my
tying.
bind-offs, not really.
Yeah, I think it was a 3. Yeah, I don't remember.
Very cool.
What feels like forever ago. It was probably only like 7 years ago. But
Very, very nice.
yeah.
We have something fun that we have to share. I think it was not last week, but the week before.
Yep, about 2 weeks ago. This group, how did they get in touch with us? They wanted a yarn donation or something like that. And,
it might have started that way, yeah.
And so we offered them to come by a local school to tour at the mill with the 4th grade class.
The Mount Lebanon Elementary School.
Yeah, and so the 2 4th grade classes wanted to come, so one day I took a tour and the next day Peg took it, and the kids were so cute and so interested in everything that we were doing here.
They really were. It was fascinating. So I'm going to show you a quick picture. They sent a bunch of pictures, which is cute. There's one. And then they all...
This came and was sitting in the mill, came to Peggy's house, which is also our mailing address, for reasons we won't go into right now, but so this arrived, this lovely little packet with a cute owl sticker on it, and we got a whole packet of letters and some drawings. It was just so cute.
Yeah.
So we picked out, here's one we'll just read. Dear Peggy and Amanda, thank you for hosting our class on Thursday, March 30th. I was impressed about how much wool you can make in such small space without problems, little do they know, and how dangerous the equipment is. But you could fully operate the machines without the smallest prick. I'm not really sure what they meant by that, but sincerely, and then the kids signed it. But how adorable is that?
That's really great.
We got a lot of impressed.
Right. There was a certain level of vocabulary that was shared throughout. And I think that they had been studying mills, because there's a whole history of mills in the area. Yeah. And I'm convinced that part of their education about mills back in the day is you could lose an arm or you could lose a hand, because I'm telling you, the first thing they said they would do, and you could lose a hand. I said, we're going to try really hard not to have that happen.
It's true though. For real, you could lose a hand, but we work really hard.
Well, and I think they also knew that it was children that were running the mills back in the day. But anyway, it was delightful that they came.
Yeah, it was so delightful.
Yeah.
And other fun news, social media news. There was a post over the weekend. I think it was recently anyways, by @Mara Makes that we wanted to share with you. She did our shoulder season, but she modified it to have a hood, which I thought was very clever, and we thought, why not share it with you all on the Millcast? So we do have our shoulder season kits are still available on our site, and she just, I think she used one of those because it's the same colors. Yep. But then she ingeniously added a hood to it, so I thought that was super fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we had someone post a question.
Yes, and then we had a question from, I posted a picture of Peggy's fleece with all the crimpy fibers. Talked about Corriedale. The photo was of it out on our skirting table. And I mentioned that Corriedale has lovely fleece, and that Peg's fleece is some of the loveliest. But that, sort of the downside to keeping fiber animals with such crimpy, fine fleece is that they do need a lot of care, specifically in the winter, to keep the hay out of the fleece. You need to put jackets on them. And so someone, wrote, why do you have to be concerned about vegetation in their wool during winter? Is it harder to card and clean wool that's especially fine? So I will ask that to you.
Well, what happens is it also is a little bit dependent on the feeding system that you have. But if a sheep can go in and grab a bite to eat, and while they're eating it, turn and talk to their neighbor, it can dribble down on their backs. And what happens is there's a lot of lanolin, and the fleece is, open to letting it get stuck on it. And it can work its way into the actual fibers. And when you go, if it's there when you go in after you've scoured it and you start picking and carding it, it's going to stay. Now, the carder will get rid of some, the picker will get rid of some, but it can't get rid of all of it. So here's an example. This is the Savage Heart Farm White. And, how do you know that this definitely was a farm animal? Because there's little flecks of hay that still stayed in there. And they just pop right out when you come to them. But and these were jacketed. Mm-hmm. So we put jackets on all of our sheep the moment we go from grass to hay. But even so, it can get in around, and some of it's the skirting. But that you want to try and get as much of that grass out, because you can't rely on the equipment to get rid of it.
Yeah, and so for a breed with less crimp and less fineness, a lot of that vegetation would just
falls away.
Fall away. But because of the crimp, it really wants to grip onto everything, including itself. So that's why it's sort of a joy to spin, and it adds a lot of loft to the finished yarn.
Right.
But it does tend to attract detriments like or detritus. Anyways, it detracts stuff.
I tell you, the other thing is that Corriedale, when that fiber's growing, it's kind of growing right up, versus other breeds like Border Leicester or Blue-faced Leicester, it grows up and it's like little teepees of locks. Mm-hmm. So the grass isn't getting stuck to it as easily because of the way it's growing. It just falls away, whereas the Corriedale's just growing up and saying, "Oh, stick to me."
Yeah. In the summertime, as far as the seasonality goes, when they're out in the pasture, in theory, the grass doesn't have a ton of seeds in it.
Right.
And in theory, it's not taller than the sheep to fall on their back. So if anything, you're getting a little on the underside. If you do have anything like thistle or burrs, you really want to get that out of your field.
That's the big one is burrs, because you think you've cleared your fields, and then they find one or two, and it's not just the belly, because they're going up. They might rub against it, and you'll find they'll lay down on it, and the burrs are really a pain in the butt. You want to get those out.
Also, since you're when you shear, like, it's not like jackets go right back on the animal, because when they have very, very short fiber, it also easily falls away. It's when it gets to a point. So in the summertime, it's not quite as long as it is in the wintertime. Right. So that's another factor.
There are some people that will jacket year round, and hats off to them, because it's a lot of work. When you're putting a jacket on in the summertime, as that fleece grows, you got to swap out the jacket for a bigger jacket, because if you leave the same jacket on, it'll get really tight and it'll start felting the wool. So,
and you got to make sure it's breathable, because those sheep get hot in the summertime. So
probably more than you wanted to know, but
there you go.
That's what it's at. Hey, we have a treat for you. We're gonna not tell you anything more than that.
Yep.
Right. There's a treat that we're gonna share with you, and we hope you enjoy it.
Okay. Hi. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're thrilled. Can you introduce yourself?
Right. Hi, my name is Dinie, and I live in New Zealand, and I have a mini commercial spinning mill, just like Peg and Amanda. And I've sort of got to know them through their podcast, or Millcast, and mine, and have had some conversations. They've been so helpful, helping me get my mill going. And I was coming to America to visit my son, and I thought, I could add another 6 or 7 hours trip each way. It's actually longer than that.
Yeah.
You take all the waiting and the whatever, getting to the airport, and come and see Peg and Amanda, see how the mill runs, and see if I could pick their brains on a few more things.
When you emailed us and told us the equipment that you had, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe almost every single piece of equipment you have the exact same down in
Not the same picker.
Not the picker.
Yeah,
but
I'm
otherwise,
fascinated with your picker. I have the same spinning machine, I have the same pin drafter, and I have the same
carder. Incredible.
I know.
And
it was bought from Carolina Specialty.
Yeah.
Right. So the whole package was bought from Carolina Specialty, but I think he died 2 years after Julie bought it. But she bought that as a package from him.
And Carolina Specialty doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't exist anymore.
And so how did it get to New Zealand originally? Do you know?
I do know. So she made contact with Marcel, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, Marcel, and he put together a package for her. So she has a herd of alpacas, and she could not get it carded anywhere. They wanted to mix it in with sheep wool. And also, a lot of the machines weren't set up for alpaca. Mm-hmm. And so she thought, well, I'm just going to sort it out myself. So she spoke to them. So, I don't know if you did that, but with Ramella, she had to send so many fleeces over, and they tested everything to make sure that she had the right the carding material, that it was set up in the motors correctly.
Huh. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and so
specific for alpaca.
And so they checked it, and they told her what settings to have things on. So you can, I think, adjust the settings.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know that we want to do that, but okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you come into possession of this whole mill?
Well, I've been watching. Do you know Nuti Dunyan?
No.
No.
Okay, that's Swedish wool. It's unspun yarn.
Okay.
Which seems a bit weird, seeing we have a passion for that. But I was really curious about this unspun yarn, and Nutiden is a yarn that's produced in Sweden. So the woman that does that, I don't know if I can say her name, Marana Huset. Onerocher is the name of her business.
Wow, that sounds
and
very...
she has a fabulous Patreon podcast. She's very artistic and photographic, and she does collections once a month, and you sign on as a Patreon, and that entitles you to a little code so you can buy some of her wool. And it's a wonderful, the product of the podcast she does is one thing in itself. Right? But then the yarn that she produces as well, she specializes in this unspun yarn, which if you know how machines work, it's a bit like the Plotcholopi or the Leklopi type stuff.
Right.
Except it's not spun at all. So there are some machines in mills where the way the machine is run, you end up with these cones of very thin rows.
You're going to see it at Green Mountain Spinnery.
And then
at a woolen mill, they'll have that.
And then from that, they spin it into a very fine yarn.
Well,
she sells that as an unspun yarn.
Okay.
And you knit with that. So this is made in an unspun yarn.
Can I feel it?
Sure.
Wow, it's
interesting.
Yeah. So this is Gotland sheep and other Swedish. So she gets fleeces from all over, same sort of thing, undervalued as a product, and she goes around to all these individual sheep farmers and gets their sheep fleece. Her husband now works in the business, and he has a massive cauldron, and he is like the alchemist in the dyeing.
Okay.
And then they blend colours, all the different colours to make particular colours, and she sets up a collection each month and presents that collection. And she'll talk about her inspiration for the name of the yarn, but she often does it in black and white, so you don't even know what the colours are until right at the end. It's all,
Oh, that's theatre.
Yes, it's all about the build up.
That's smart.
It's this massive following. So I kind of really was like, so inspired, and I looked at it and I said, that woman's living my dream. I'd just love to have a spinning mill. And 3 days later on Facebook popped up in my feed that there was somebody in a place about an hour or so away from where I live selling a mill.
That's incredible.
I was like, it's uncanny.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go and have a look at it. So I said to my husband, this thing has popped up, let's go and have a look at it. And I think he thought,
for good reason, probably.
Absolutely. So I did try and play it cool. I did, because I was like, there's going to have to be a reason for me not to get this. I had no idea how much it was. I didn't know if I could afford it, but I was going to go and have a look. So we went and met Julie and had a look through the shed, and honestly, the minute I walked in, I was like, I really want this. I really want to do this. I really want this.
You weren't nervous with all that equipment that you had no idea how to use?
Not at that point. At that point, I was just living the dream in my mind.
Okay.
So in my mind I was having a think about it, but I really did not know if I could afford it.
Okay.
Because I was like, well, how much is it all going to cost?
Right.
I had no idea. And so I had in my mind, I was like, well, it's either going to be a really expensive hobby, or it's going to be a sort of semi-retirement plan from midwifery, and I have no idea if it's going to pay its way or not. That's kind of how I kind of viewed it at that point.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I had an upper end of what I was prepared to pay, and that was the exact bottom end of what she was prepared to accept.
Okay.
And so just straight away,
perfect.
Agreed. And then part of that package was that we would come and learn 2 days like you did. So you guys learned obviously a hell of a lot, because I just feel like we were total novices. Were you like that at the beginning?
Oh, we didn't know anything.
I think it was great having a partner in it, because and the two of us were, holding each other pretty accountable to make this a very real thing very quickly.
Yeah.
And Peg's got a ton of connections and energy, so I feel like we just I don't know, we had a plan to get this whole thing rolling.
And Michael, who we bought this mill from, he was marvelous. I mean, he made it very clear, I will make certain you know how to run all this equipment.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I'll make sure you know how to take care of it.
And he was definitely on speed dial for a while.
Yeah,
That was huge.
Yeah, that was critical. Yeah. So it worked out well. So you've moved all the equipment in.
That took months.
Yeah.
Because once we bought it, finding somebody prepared to carry it for us was another whole story. And that took, saw the mill in January, bought the mill in March, and it got moved in October.
Yeah.
So it took a long time. But also, I have a big shed on my property. So I live on a 1 acre block.
Okay.
And we had this shed that literally the kids used to just come and dump all their stuff in, and we dumped stuff in, and it just got used for absolutely nothing.
Right.
You could hardly move around. And I said to Roger, this is where my mill needs to go. And so then we had to empty everything out and move it along and actually completely line it. So we almost rebuilt that part of the shed. And then gets, electrics put in.
Right.
It's not 3-phase. Do you do 3?
No.
No, so it's single phase.
Right.
I don't know if
we're single phase.
Yeah. So all of that was rewired, lined, big garage door put in. So
Did
we
you
could
have
get
the
everything
concrete
in.
floor?
Had a concrete floor already.
Yeah.
Except it wasn't sealed. It's not sealed like this, and I do regret that. I wonder if I should still try and seal it. But anyway, it took all that time to get it ready and then to get a carrier to move it over.
Right.
So we did have a big moving day, and I remember watching your big moving day video, and how you sort of taped out where it was going to go.
Yeah.
And my friend had said to me, you should really tape out where things are going to go. Sorry, I'm just going to turn that off. I tried to turn that off.
Yeah, we taped everything because we didn't want to waste the rigging company's time. We wanted to kind of know where we were going here.
So did they move it in like with a
forklift? Yep.
And some of it they used just the little
little
push.
gadget to push it and
Right. So I had some people move things on a forklift, and that was a sight to behold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In some ways you're like, oh,
exactly.
And then in other ways it's like skill.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's why you need a rigging company that knows how to move delicate, wicked heavy equipment. Yeah.
Worth every penny.
I don't know that we had that person, but
okay.
They were really good.
So are you up and running or still tinkering?
I can get a product all the way through.
Okay.
My biggest issue is the pin drafter, because you need to have that nicely aligned and you need it to be uniform.
Right.
Yes.
To go through the spinner.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'll try what you did, which is getting, I got some combed tops.
Right.
Corriedale, and I thought if I put that through, then I should be able to put it through the spinner, but it doesn't go through the pin drafter as well.
Huh.
So I know what I want to problem shoot, which is I think the fact that everything's been set up for alpaca, which is much finer. Yeah. That's on a 22 PPI, my one, whereas I think yours is on an 18. You told me.
We'll have to look.
We'll have to look.
Yeah, and I think just having that extra space maybe means it drafts better through the pin draft.
Well, so you're going to stay in our area for a couple of days, and you're going to get a chance to sort of see how we're working the pin drafter and a couple of other things, hopefully.
Because I feel like we're working it correctly.
Right.
But when we learnt on the machines, we learnt on alpaca.
Yeah, and it's very different.
It is very different.
We don't do alpaca here unless it's like heavily blended.
Yeah.
I mean, I could literally have an entire business probably just doing alpaca.
Oh,
because
we
they
could
don't,
too.
yeah.
Probably here.
Yeah.
Someone else is doing that business, thankfully, because for our it won't go through our equipment because I think it was set up for sheep's wool. So that's a really interesting point.
Yeah, but Julie did tell me that she does sheep wool through the machines as well.
Right.
Yeah. And so I was okay. Well, that's not going to be an issue then.
Yeah.
But I think it may have been set up.
Okay.
And that.
So then once you do get it all set up and running and you get back home, what's the next step for you?
Well, I will do consignments, so I'm happy to do small batches of fleece. I know that you take like a minimum, is it 3 fleeces or 3?
We do 13 pounds is our minimum.
Grease weight.
So is that like 2
Depends on the size of the sheep.
Depends on the size of the sheep.
Right.
Yeah.
And alpaca, I've got lots of people already asking me, but what I have been doing already is I have old clients who do small flock shearing. And so they go around and maybe do 3 here, 150 there, or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said to me, people are just throwing that away or burning it. And
that's gold.
I know. Well, you know, you've got specific sheep types. I would like to get involved in that, and I'm trying to move towards specific breeds, because I'll say to them, oh, what kind of sheep have you got? And they'll say, white. Like, yeah. Okay.
So I think from, I'm probably not alone here, when you hear New Zealand, Merino is the first thing that comes to mind.
Merino is, there, but it mostly gets shipped out to China.
Right.
Okay.
All right. And there are some places that do Merino, but I think, again, you need a particular kind of setup to do Merino really well.
Right.
But is it like you just walk down the street and you can see Merino sheep, or are they in certain areas?
I would say Merino's mostly in the South Island, and there's lots of hill country. You would be driving a long way to see a lot of Merino. But, you know, you can't drive very far without seeing sheep.
And what kind? Do you know what kind of breeds are other than Merino down south?
Well, they have what they call feral breeds. So there's Arapawa, which is a kind of Merino. So when I actually put that through the machine, it ended up like this felted.
Oh dear.
It was super bouncy and felty. And,
interesting.
Yeah, and it was really difficult. I couldn't get it through the pin drafter. I could only get it so that I could hand spin it.
Huh.
Oh boy, you've got some challenges.
I know, but there are obviously Romney, Corriedale. You should put me on a spot here trying to think of all the brands, but there's a lot of
Cormo?
You get Gotland. No, I haven't seen Cormo.
Gotland, interesting.
Yes. What else? Well, definitely Merino.
Yeah.
There are lots. Oh, Sussex.
Yep.
Suffolk.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of bales given to me of Suffolk Down, white Suffolk Down, which
all right. Okay.
is apparently used a lot for stuffing duvets or comforters.
Yeah, comforters.
Yeah. And but it's actually spun up. It did spin up quite nicely.
Excellent.
Great.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, we're thrilled that you're here, and we look forward to spending some time with you.
Thank you.
This week, and we'll show you what we're doing and see if it's helpful to you.
I really, really appreciate it.
And I'd love to give you a chance to plug your YouTube channel.
Thank you. It's called My Imperfect Knitting Life, which is not only about the knitting, but the life.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's not about having to have things perfect and wonderful. It's that sort of organic growth of how you make things, and I can see that with you guys as well.
Yeah.
Take a bit of this and use a bit of that.
Exactly.
Improvise with this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great.
And for all the support that you've given me already. It's been wonderful. And I just love watching you guys together. I think you've got such a special relationship, and it needs to be celebrated.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, that was delightful.
I love the accent.
I know.
I'm a sucker for accents. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and we're gonna have fun over the next couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's going on in the mill? What did we do last week?
It's all Savage Heart Farm, which is the name of our farm, Todd and I. So it's lots of colors. You saw the different colors that Amanda had. Well, we've got a sort of the same thing going. So we have white.
So your white, is that 100% Corriedale, or do you have white? So white is a color you can get. Can you get it from a dark sheep?
White is the dominant gene.
Okay.
Both of our rams are colored.
Yeah.
But they have white in them somewhere.
Okay.
And we have some white sheep.
Yeah.
And those white sheep tend to throw off, that's the expression, give birth to, throw off, and they also tend to twin, either two whites or a white and a dark.
Okay.
But we know we need to have white. So we went out of our way to make certain that we keep some white in the flock. The majority of our flock are colored.
Right. But it's a white mom usually.
Because I don't have a white. I don't have a white ram.
Right.
If we had a white ram, 75 to 80% of all our lambs would be white.
Okay.
So we have two dark rams. So this is the white, and this. So the sheep gray out over time. This is a gorgeous gray. It's probably not as easy to see, but there's a lot going on it. And these are really the older ladies that have grayed out over time. So I'm going to let you hold that, if you would. And then...
Give them a close-up look.
Oh, yeah. And then the very dark are... Take a look at how dark this is.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
These are basically the 1-year-olds. You can see a little bit of gray, but for the most part, it is dark as could be. So that's our, can you see that? This is going to be spectacular.
Yes.
So we have the super dark, the dark gray, and then the last one is this. We haven't taken it off yet. And what this is I took the white and I added 5% of this very dark to get a really light gray. This is going to be
stunning.
And the
tone on that is just like nice and cool, whereas this is a little bit warmer. So it's fun to have the two different like whitish shades.
I can't wait. So we'll have 4 natural colors. And then the thing that we're going to experiment with it, we've scoured it, but we've held back some that's a kind of a medium gray, and I've broken it up into 4 groups, and we're going to dye it in the sink 4 different colors. I can't wait. That is going to be
so fun.
Really, and hopefully we'll do the dyeing this week. Love dyeing.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what's going on in the mill.
Well, I brought some knitting.
Yeah, I'm still chipping away at my saffron colored sweater, so I thought, I'm not bringing it again.
I actually got a significant amount done on the body of my vest. So
Very good.
I might finish the body this week. I'm very excited about it. This is the Petite Knit Stockholm slipover or pullover, but I did realize I made a mistake, and I'm just not going to go back and fix it. I was supposed to, I thought all sweaters, we've already established, I don't read the pattern all the way through when I started. So there was a time when it said, when I was starting the body, so I had, joined under the armpits or whatever, and then it said, keep going until it measures 20 inches or something like that. And then I had in bold, at the same time, you're supposed to decrease basically 4 stitches twice, so every 3.5 inches. So you're supposed to do it 2 times. And I've never had a body decrease that I can remember, so I knew I read it, and then I said, okay, I understand that direction. I'll worry about it in 3.5 inches, which of course came and went because I was just going
around and around.
And anyway, so I threw a decrease in at about, 11 or 12 inches.
Okay.
And I think I'll just do another decrease before I start the ribbing at the bottom.
Okay.
And then
it'll be fine.
Yeah, it was one of those, I don't care enough about this to lose 4 stitches.
That is interesting that they're having,
yeah, I think it's supposed to just give it a little bit of a, shape to it.
But, right, okay.
But I think it'll be totally fine. I sat there when I realized I was just, I've only done 1 more row since I did the decrease. I was like, should I go back 6 inches? No. Especially this yarn, it is special because it's my own sheep's wool, but at the same time, I get more every year. It's it wasn't precious yarn. It's not a precious pattern.
Yeah.
We've all been there, right, folks?
Totally reasonable. Totally reasonable.
So I'm keeping it going, but I'm excited to finish that, and then
good.
Yeah, the ribbing's only 2 centimeters on the bottom and a centimeter on top, very little. So it should.
Nice.
It might even be done with it. Probably not, but maybe.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Hey, we want to remind you we are interviewing the author of the book Worn.
A People's History of Clothing.
It's really a fascinating read. We hope you have a chance to read it before we do the interview. Well, before we give you the interview, which I think we're going to have it next week.
Yes. So we want to give you a chance to purchase or borrow or check out from the library this book. And read it so that you can get a little bit more out of our discussion with Sophie Tannhauser, which I'm pretty sure is how you pronounce her last name.
Yeah, it was a terrific interview, and we'll have that next week.
Yeah.
So,
also, mark your calendars. We are having our next open house.
Yeah, we've been trying to do them monthly, and wow, is time flying.
I know, it's already next Friday, so it's not this coming Friday, but Friday...
The 21st.
The 21st from 3 to 5 at the mill. We will have all the retail set up in here. We'll be doing tours.
Yeah.
It'll be a great time, and hopefully the weather will be gorgeous.
As gorgeous. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, we could throw open the doors.
We could throw open the doors and make it a party.
Yeah.
So, mark your calendars for the 21st.
All right, so we'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
And we'll be interviewing Sophie, so read Worn.
See ya.
Bye.